Welcome to episode number 2 of the Kettlebell Guys Show. I'm your host, co-host, Coach Grant. Seamus, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on today's episode.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I should be saying the same to you. We had a lot of really good feedback. I felt like on the first episode. Sean and I obviously have never done this before. We've never had a podcast, and so we're kind of learning as we go, getting feedback from our clients, feedback from people that we sent it to. So
feedback from my mom and dad. Thank you guys.
My dad thought it was so cool. He's like, this is going to be incredible exposure. It's like, Dad, people use YouTube. You know, a lot of people use YouTube. It's not a new thing. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about a personal story for you and I. I think a belief breaking experience that we had when we ran the gym, and also, how that kind of correlates to the experience that guys have when they join Kettlebell Transformation, our program now.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick us off? Why don't you kick us off? Tell us kind of the origin of this story, and we'll just riff.
So as we talked about in episode number 1, Grant and I ran a gym in Chicago called Chicago Primal Gym. And we, from the time period of 2013 when we opened until about 2018, we grew fairly steadily. We had experienced some pretty solid growth. We moved into 2 new facilities in that time frame, upgrades, if you will.
Yeah.
The first facility that we essentially got kicked out of by the neighbors. That would be a good story. That'd be a good tangent.
Well, we were in Chicago, right? We were on the north side near Wrigley Field, and your very first gym was in the alleyway. You had your back alley with your buddies. Yes. And the first space that you signed a lease on was like a 3 flat that the bottom was the commercial space where the gym was. And it was like, it was like an office space. It had an office in the back, and then everything got ripped out.
It was not like an office space.
It
was an office space.
But it was like everything got ripped out except for the office in the back. And then it had, obviously training mats, and we had pull-up bars on there, and a row of kettlebells along the wall. But it was very small. Like, I don't even remember what was the square footage on that place. Do you remember?
It was, I think 1,800 maybe. I mean, it was
very small.
It was small.
Yeah. Our neighbors did not love us throwing jam balls at the wall at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning, who were living above us.
No, that's true. I had that wall specially built so that we could throw jam balls at it. It was filled with, like sound dampening stuff. And the very first time that I threw jam balls at it, my neighbor knocked on the door within 30 seconds. And he was like, "You are shaking our entire apartment." And I'm like, "Well, great. The $5,000 wall that I had built is not usable." Awesome.
Good investment.
Yeah, great investment. But boy, did we hang our bands from that wall really effectively. It
had a great mural.
Really good. Anyway, what a tangent. So let's get back on track. So we got out of that space. We upgraded. So we had some success. We had grown the community. In 2018, we found ourselves in our 3rd facility at the time. And, we felt like we'd kind of hit this wall of being able to really grow our tribe and being able to really, grow the profitability of the business. And it was right at that time that a company who anyone in the gym industry knows, but probably a lot of people outside of the gym industry wouldn't know. It's a company called Gym Launch, was just making a name for itself. They were making some incredibly wild claims about the results that the clients in their program were getting in terms of how fast they were bringing on new clients to scale their gym, as well as the amount of money that they were making in that time. And so I remember in March of 2018, I brought this to our team and I said, this looks like something that could be a game changer for us. We talked about it as a team, and we decided against it for a variety of reasons. First off, it was incredibly expensive, way more expensive. I mean, literally probably 6 times more expensive than anything else I had ever invested in from a business coaching standpoint.
Yeah. It was $16,000 for the first.
It was scary.
Days. It was a lot
for the first 4 months. It was a scary prospect. I think $3,000 for like a year was the most I had ever spent on any type of, coaching business type of thing. So this was so that was probably the main factor, but also there were some things that like how they were doing things and the claims that they were making that we just kind of felt like, this seems like it's maybe too good to be true.
Yeah.
I remember looking up and trying to find information on the business owner and like, this just can't be real.
Yeah, it's like I think the natural thing that a lot of people do when they see different marketing, right? You're just like you're naturally skeptical. I've had lots of guys who came to Kettlebell Transformation who were naturally skeptical just because like you find
Yeah.
it online and you don't know that there's real people behind it. You don't know that the results that they're claiming are true or fabricated. And what they were claiming in their marketing was how they were helping gyms grow like extremely fast, how to bring on more members.
Right.
And at the time, like you said, we felt like our gym was awesome. Like we felt like we had a great community, had good systems for running classes, but we weren't sure how to grow it. We weren't sure how do we continue to find new people to come in to the gym every month outside of just, doing our, one-off challenges that we would do, once every 3 to 6 months, that we would ask our
Right.
members to refer people to, right? And
Right.
so we also had not stepped foot into I think too much into the world of online marketing to market the
Right.
gym. We hadn't stepped into it too deep yet. And yeah, so it was one of those moments where we were naturally skeptical. We were like, I
Right.
don't know about this. Like, is it real? Yeah. So that's what kept us on the fence back in
Right.
the end of 2018.
Well, that was the start of
Or
2018. That was
beginning.
March of
Sorry,
2018.
beginning March. Yeah, you're right.
And as a matter of fact, if I think back on it correctly, because we ended up joining Gym Launch in March of 2019, I
Right.
think actually I first found out about it in September of 2017.
Mm,
That's when I believe that I
the
first,
end.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew about it for like a long time
Right.
before we joined. I mean, I literally believe that we sat on the fence for 18 months.
Right.
And in that time frame, we didn't just like forget about Gym Launch. We watched, we
Right.
kept thinking, gosh, there's no way those type of results could be real. We tried to hack everything they were doing, right? We
Yeah.
were going through and hacking their funnels, going through and hacking their advertising, trying to
Right.
figure out all the little nuances of the offers that they were doing, just like, well, maybe their system works, but I'm sure that we can just figure it out. And a lot of it was fear of investing that kind of money and not seeing results. A lot of it was stubbornness, like we should be able to figure this out on our own. There's
Huge.
no way that this guy can be smarter than we are, right?
Oh
Why can't we
man.
figure this out? Just so much
Truly.
of
Like,
that is just that false belief and that just ego that I feel like, stepping away from our experience gets in the way of a lot of guys. A lot of guys, just relating it to kettlebell transformation. How many guys have you talked to just like, yeah, I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. I just need to be doing it. It's like,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not
And
always
it's
the thing that's missing.
right. It's interesting, right? Because whenever we talk to guys, like I know how you feel because I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Like, in this other situation, like very much so. I think it was a spot where we were just like, no, we can figure this out. We got
Right.
this. Like, I remember a specific example of we had a mezzanine in our last space we were in. And I remember you were down on the gym floor, you were leaving, and I was up in the mezzanine. And I remember saying to you, you were just like, man, like, I don't know if we should do this or not. And I looked at you, I was like, no, we can figure it out. Like, we got it. We'll figure it out. And that kept us on the fence for like another 3 months, but we never figured it out.
I
Right.
know.
We never figured it out. We were never figuring out how to continuously bring in new people and actually grow the gym because at the time, we loved the amount of members that we had, but we wanted to grow. Like we wanted to
Yeah.
impact people. We wanted to be bigger than just like 100-person, 150-person gym. And so eventually we were just like, well, either we're gonna quit because we got to a point where we were pretty frustrated. Like we got to a
Oh
point
yeah.
where it's like everything that we were trying to copy and do on our own didn't really work. And
Right.
so it was just frustrating, like really frustrating. And I think that's maybe where that moment where I was said to you, like, no, we're going to figure it out because we were both so frustrated. But eventually we were like, all right,
Let's do it.
we got to pull the trigger, right? Because what we're
We got
doing,
to do it.
what we're
Right.
doing is not working. So
Right.
we pulled
We
the
were
trigger.
at the point of either giving up completely and literally just quitting. I can remember saying to Kimberly, I said to her, either we're going to invest in Gym Launch or I'm going to shut the gym down
Right.
because I can't do it anymore. At that point, we were 5 years in. I was, I think, 32 or 33, and still making,
Right.
50K. And like, of course, I didn't get into the gym business to get rich, but like, I also didn't want to feel like I was, broker than I was in my first job out of college. We wanted to have the mix of helping people and being successful. And, so we finally signed up for gym launch. This was in March of 2019, I think, if I'm getting my time frame right. Because I remember we signed up and I went to New York City with my wife, Amanda. She had a work event. We brought my daughter, Maddie, who was 6 months old at the time. Because I can remember being in New York City, going through the initial modules in gym launch. And the crazy thing about, and this is why we wanted to talk about this, because what happened was when we signed up for gym launch, we swiped our credit card and immediately everything changed for us, because we now had two things that we didn't have before. And those were really what we found to be the catalyst for us to be able to produce the type of growth, which we'll talk about here in a second, that we achieved in our first 9 to 12 months with gym launch. Because what happened is one, we invested an amount of money that made us extremely uncomfortable. Uncomfortable in the sense that, like, wow, we had better get to work and make this thing work now that we've spent that much money. Right. I don't want to feel stupid for investing that much money. So I'm going to work hard.
I'm not going to think that I know better than what I just invested into. I'm just going to go through the materials one by one and just execute the way that they tell me to do it. Like, these guys have already done it.
And that was the other thing.
What I'm doing isn't working, so I'm just going to follow it step by step.
Right.
And that was the other
And that was the other thing that we got, is we got a clear roadmap where we no longer had to second guess or wonder, like, well, what if we're missing this? Or like, what if we're actually supposed to do it like this? We were instead just able to go through one by one and just do exactly what the instructions were. Even if we looked at it and said, like, oh gosh, like, I don't know about doing that. Like, do we really want to do that? And there was plenty of that. There was plenty of that where we were just like, boy, that just doesn't seem like it's going to work for us. Or like, boy, are our members going to be okay with that? And like, does that sit well with us? We like, because of what we had invested, we now had the accountability, for lack of a better word, to actually do what it was that was laid out for us. So we had the roadmap, and we also had the accountability of putting serious skin in the game.
Right. And I also think that we were where we were stuck, but we were also incredibly comfortable. So you just said something like, well, are we sure we want to do that? Like, are we sure? Because there were, what we got from gym launch was strategies on how to be able to fulfill for your gym members the type of challenges you want to do, the type of classes you want to run, then the type of external marketing you wanted to do to be able to bring new people in, how you were supposed to be able to sit down and have a conversation with that person about joining the gym. And all of it was different than what we had done up until that point. Very different.
So true.
And so we were very uncomfortable, I think, being like, is this going to be our vibe? Where are we actually going to be able to pull this off? Are our members going to be like, what the hell are these guys doing now? That we'd never run any marketing. So they're going to start seeing all of our marketing and be like, because at that time, think about it, right? You got like 100 core members who it's their neighborhood gym, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, when we started flipping on the gym launch strategies, we were bringing in 30, 40, 50 people a month, new people.
Strangers.
Yeah. And so for a lot of the original members, it was kind of just like, what are you guys doing? Because this was my gym. Right. And so it was very much a season of, I think, transformation for us and growing out of the type of like small gym owner that we were there to the business owners or the people who were trying to impact more lives and trying to help more people, and having the information fully given to us, giving us the clarity of like, if your goal is actually to do what you say you want to do, here's the exact roadmap to do it. And us having to swallow our pride and swallow our level of comfort and be like, all right, well, I do want that end result. I do want to help more people. I do want this gym to be thriving. And so if this is the way to get there, then you know what? I'm not going to think I know better anymore. I'm going to swallow my pride and I'm just going to do what you told us to do, which was
That's
tough.
it right there, man.
It was hard.
Yeah, of course it was tough. But that was the key thing, honestly,
Yeah.
was just like us finally saying, okay, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know how to do what we want to do. If we knew how to do what we wanted to do,
We'd be
we would
doing
have
it.
done it already, because
Yeah.
we've been trying to do it for 5 years now. And at least the last 18 months, we had been directly trying to do what Gym Launch was doing with their
Right.
clients, or at least claiming that they were doing with their clients. We didn't know if it was real or not, but we
Right.
had so many case studies and so many, people talking about the results they were getting, that finally we were like, okay,
Right.
let's do this thing. And you make such a crucial point there about being able to swallow your pride and being able to admit that you don't know how to get the results that you want.
Yeah.
It's one thing to just be like, you know what, screw it, I'm comfortable enough. We don't need to keep growing. Or in the case of maybe guys looking at kettlebell transformation, screw it, it's okay. I don't mind,
Right.
being 20, 30 pounds overweight. It's not the end of the world. It's
Right.
not that I don't have that much to gain. Or the guy who's like, no, I can figure it out on my own. I'm just not
Yeah.
doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing. It's like,
Yeah. And the thing is there were plenty of gym owners who had that viewpoint towards Gym Launch, right?
oh, absolutely.
So you look at their ads back then, the comments they would get, this is a scam, blah, 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 like
Right.
cynical, skeptical gym owners. And the funny thing is like, and I think about the guys in our community now, all of the gym owners within Gym Launch who were crushing it, like us being in that community, everyone's just like, okay, think what you want, but like, it's working over here for us. Like you can be out there and be kind of like cynical out on the outside. That's fine, but you're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay
Right.
exactly where you are. And you had gym owners on the inside of Gym Launch who were going from, only doing $200,000, $300,000 worth of revenue every year to doing over $1 million a year.
Right.
And they would make that transformation in like 6 to 12 months. And
Yep.
so it is interesting to think about, because I think we have guys inside of our community who they're seeing great results as well. Like we had a guy the other day who said to us, he has a buddy who said that, nah, kettlebell transformation was too expensive. Like he's not going to do it. And he said he didn't have his priorities straight. He's like, he doesn't get it. He doesn't
Right.
understand. Right. So I think that
A
there's
lot of guys, a lot of times you don't understand what you have to gain, or
right.
maybe you don't understand how far you are from your potential, just
Right.
because you can't know. And
Yeah.
just from a facts and figures standpoint for us, we went from doing about $650,000, I think, in revenue the year prior to joining Gym Launch,
Right.
to doing $1.2 million in revenue
Right.
the year that we joined Gym Launch. So we literally doubled our gym, and we
Yep.
tripled our bottom line in that
Yes.
time,
Right.
in 9 months.
Yep.
So like, and we had been open for 5 years prior to that. And so
Right.
if you just think about that level of explosive results and clarity and refinement of systems, we went from trying everything and having no idea what was going to work to running one clean system that just absolutely, outperformed. And the thing too that, I think this is a revelation that I'm having right now. At the start, you do exactly as you're told. You follow the instructions
For
to a
sure.
T. You don't want to mess anything up because you know that you don't know, right?
Right.
But then as you get better and better at running the core systems, you start to be able to put your own kind of spin on it. You start to
For
be able to
sure.
kind of make it your own and really adapt it to your lifestyle, or adapt it to your gym, or adapt it to your community, or whatever it may be, right?
Right.
And there were some things down the line that we didn't do, or that we put our own spins on
Right.
it within the framework that Gym Launch had given us, that worked well
Right.
for us. And I think that's what a lot of guys do. I think about like Miguel saying that, his favorite thing about the post-mastery KT program, he understood the principles behind
Correct.
what he
From
was doing.
from following the previous 4 progressions over the course of the last year and a half. And
Right.
so he had such a deep understanding and knowledge base of like what it takes to produce the results that he had, that he knows how he can adjust things for him. And I think too, if you go
Right.
back to what you said guys don't know what they stand to gain, because that's the big thing. That's the interesting thing about, you talk about just value, right? It's like Gym Launch was saying, if you invest 16K to get access to our systems and our coaching, you could double or triple the size of your gym. You could double or triple the amount that you put down that you invest within 2 to 4 weeks. And so it's like, number one, do you believe that that's realistic, that that can happen for you? Right. So if guys come into KT who want to lose weight, you see how many testimonials does it take for it to be unrealistic for you to not believe that it works. Right.
Right.
So it's like number one there. And then number two is, do you truly value that end result, that outcome at that level? Like, even if, because I know, like for us, it was, I absolutely would value that outcome far, far and beyond what we invested into it, which is
Right.
you and I collectively as business owners really taking the next step and just continuing to grow and evolve and figure out what we don't know so that we can grow and evolve ourselves and be able to impact more people, help more people. And so like all of that was worth it to us. And so like that true understanding of like the understanding what do you have to gain, right? A lot of times people only think about what they have to lose. The only thing about like,
So true.
I'm going to lose this X amount of money that I invest, right? Going into Gym Launch, if it
That's
was
all we
like,
thought about before we
right,
did it.
right, I'm just going to lose 16K, and what they're doing,
We're going to lose 16K.
right? What they're doing can't be that complicated, right? So like,
Right.
then it's not going to
We can
be
figure it out on our own.
correct. And so you only think about that. You don't think about it's hard to, I think, wrap your head around truly the outcome, what you're going to be valuing, when you're
Right.
actually in it, right? Which is
Right.
hard. That's
Well,
tricky.
and it's especially hard with health and body composition, because it's a lot easier to say, hey, if you invest 16K, you're going to make an extra $250,000 this year. It's like, well, that's a pretty
Right.
that's a pretty obvious trade. Like, okay, I don't know a lot of people who are going to be like, no, I don't want that, right?
Right.
But if you say to some guy, hey, you're going to invest, 5 to 10K, and you're going to lose 50 pounds and, feel better than you ever have, and feel a level of strength that'll transform your life. It's just harder to wrap your head around that,
Right.
because maybe if you've been feeling kind of crappy and low energy, and you've always, been frustrated with how your body looks and performs, you just can't comprehend how much better life can be.
Right.
And also there's no way to put a dollar amount on that. There's not a clean, just like, it's going to
Right.
cost you X, but you're going to get Y back from a dollar standpoint. That's just math.
Right. Right.
What we do is not math. A lot of it is, the opposite of that.
It's so much of just how you experience your everyday life, your
Right.
moment to moment experience of life. But it's also like we kind of talked about in episode 1, we talked about the identity shift. We talk about like becoming that guy, becoming the guy who is 110% confident in his health, his strength, his workouts, how he takes care of his body, his nutrition strategies, his knowledge of what he needs to do from a training and nutrition standpoint, the way that it impacts the relationship that he has with his kids, with his wife, with his partner. That's the version, right? Where it's like, I want to be that confident version of me, and being able to understand that, like, okay, like if I make an uncomfortable investment, like into a clear system, clarity of what to do from day 1 to day 2 to day 10 to day 20, to show me exactly what to do so that I can unlock that version of me. That's where it's like a guy has to put himself out into the future. Like if you woke up a year from now there, would it be worth that to you? Right.
It'd be worth it. Right.
So that's kind of the other thing too, right? So if someone at Gym Launch were like, if you guys were to invest 16K and then you wake up 9 months from now and your gym did 1.2 million over the course of this year, would that be worth it to you? And you put it like that, it's like, well, yeah, absolutely. Then it just comes down to like, do I actually believe that what you guys are going to give me is actually going to get me there? Right.
Exactly. Right.
So like,
and is my pain bad enough
right.
to take the short-term hurt of the uncertainty and the investment, right? Looking from the outside in at different systems, making these small little investments, thinking, this is going to be it, or thinking, oh, it's not that big of a deal, and I can just continue to be comfortable like this, because, just like joining Gym Launch, like joining Kettlebell Transformation is uncomfortable.
Yeah. 100%.
Investing in anything like that is uncomfortable because you have to lose status temporarily. You've made a big investment. You don't yet have any results from it. So,
oh man,
now you're in a position where like, boy, if I don't, if this is like every other past failed attempt that I've had up until this point, now it's not just me who's going to hurt. Now I've invested my family's money. Uh, you know,
Right.
now my wife might look at it and say, well, you knew you were going to fail anyway. You had failed 50 times before this, but now
Right.
you've spent a bunch of money. We were going to put that into the house, or, that was going to go towards the kid's school or whatever, and so there's so many factors that go into a guy understanding and being able to wrap his head around, will it be worth it for me to achieve this version of myself where I no longer have the doubt or the fear or the uncertainty around my health and fitness. I now have that vision that I originally had. But we should talk, Grant, about the parallels in terms of when a guy makes the decision to move into the kettlebell transformation program, the level of investment, getting
Yeah.
things laid out. What does
Yeah.
that mean? How is that different than what most guys are used to doing with, their approach to their health and fitness? And why does it work for guys in our program, do you think? And this is
Well,
also just like a broader psychological study, not just necessarily joining this gym,
yeah.
because this is very much the experience that we've had in our own lives of making investments like this.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Because I think that what the kettlebell transformation system aims to be is it aims to be like a full-on operating system for your life. Like everything from, workouts, nutrition to your lifestyle habits to just like I think when guys who go all in on KT, they don't really need anything else, right? And I think when guys are out in the marketplace looking for a solution, and they don't have that, I always tell guys like it's either if you're not where you want to be, it's because you either don't have a plan that you feel confident in, and so you're trying a lot of different things, or you're starting and stopping, or whatever it may be. And then beyond that, you don't have some level of accountability, either internal accountability, you're holding yourself accountable, or you have external accountability from someone else or something else. And I think that when guys come to KT, usually they come from the solutions that they had tried to find in the past for fitness was not what kettlebell transformation aims to be. And so, which is normal because the fitness industry is just crowded with like random workouts, random 21-day shreds, whole 30, 6-week challenge. And so quick fix. There are a lot of very short term, do this, but then guys will do that. And they'll either, if they go through the whole thing, then they'll stop, they'll retox after the detox, and they'll find themselves back at square one. And so
Yeah. Asking now what?
yeah. And I also think that a lot of times guys aren't ready to admit that they want or need everything, like the whole entire package, all the lifestyle habits, the understanding nutrition from A to Z, understanding, truly building a skill set. Like kettlebell transformation is not just like, okay, here's your PDF workout, like go get it, go crush it. It's like really learning the skills, like learning the details, learning the technique, so that like once you learn it, you can use it for the rest of your life. Like actually learning how to play an instrument or whatever it may be. And so I think that when guys then come to KT, they realize it's like, okay, they have to be able to wrap their head around like, this is a full on operating system for my life, how I'm going to take care of myself. And they have to wrap their head around making a serious investment into that so that we can show them the way, so that we can show them here's exactly what you need to do from day one, week one, day one to, week 16, day 4 of week 16. Right. It's tough because I think that some guys are ready for that and some guys aren't. And I think it takes time. Like you said, guys got to be in a level of either they've not been where or they've been where they don't want to be for long enough, or they just know what they're looking for. But I think it can be challenging. I think sometimes it's challenging to really wrap your head around that full system to implement in your
Right.
life.
Well, and also a lot of guys, they haven't made a level of commitment to their health and fitness that is necessary to produce and sustain the results long term. To me, scaling a gym is infinitely harder than managing your health and fitness, because what we teach guys is not complicated. Like
Right.
anyone listening to this, just so you know, our system is essentially just do 6 basic kettlebell exercises, and really only 2 basic kettlebell exercises for the most part,
For a
4
long
days a
time.
week,
Yeah.
walk for 10,000 steps, and eat balanced whole foods. Like that's it.
Right.
That's all we're teaching. There's nothing complicated. There's really not even that much that's like personalized in the sense like, well, this will work in this market, but it won't work in this market. Or like, well, this will work with your type of gym, but it won't work with your type of gym. It's like this system can work for anyone.
Right.
The problem is, and also I'll just go on to say, like, there are probably countless fitness systems that work, just like every single diet would work if you actually stuck to it. The
Right.
problem is that most people can only do things for short periods of time, and then they eventually go back to what their norm is, right? So in order for, and that's why we called our program Transformation, because in order for you to really make a true change, you have to transform what you're currently doing. It needs to become something new.
Right.
And oftentimes, in order to do that, you need to set yourself up in a position that's significantly different than you have done in the past. So
Right.
if you're somebody who's never invested for real in your health and fitness,
Right.
that may be the one thing that is missing from you actually getting the results that you want. The reason that you've never got the results is because you've never had real skin in the game.
Yeah.
And if you make an investment that makes you feel uncomfortable, like, damn, I better step up and make this work now that I put that much money in,
Right.
great. That's what you needed to do. Because what you don't understand and what you can't understand until you gain it, you can't understand how much you have to gain from doing
Right.
it. You might be able to look at it and say how much you have to lose, but that's usually going to be pretty far out in the future. Like, yeah, I won't be able to get on the ground and play with my grandkids, or like,
Right.
yeah, maybe I'll die 5 years earlier than if I didn't do this. But
Right.
like,
Maybe.
a lot of guys
Right.
don't maybe. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That stuff's all way out in the future, and it's very easy to push that stuff out.
Yeah.
But so I think the parallel from our experience with Gym Launch, with that, a lot of guys, when they join our program or when they make any type of serious investment in their health and fitness, is like, okay, now that I've made a serious investment, I now have a level of commitment to that, because where I spend my dollars is where I spend my attention, right? The
Yep.
more I invest, the more I am
Mhm.
invested,
Right.
right? And so if you're used to either trying to find free workouts or write your own, even though you have a full-time job already, or buying,
Right.
cheap little, 4-week programs or whatever,
You're
that
good.
might be your core thing, right? So there's the first thing, right? And then the second thing is I think from a health and fitness perspective, there is just a massive, massive sense of information overload that people deal with on a consistent basis.
For sure.
There are so many different diets and workout programs, and you know constant new articles about the latest piece of equipment to try, or the latest fad, like you
Dude,
said.
the cover of Men's Health has like
Yeah.
100 plus different exercises every time I see it, you
Right.
know. For
And,
the
and so
average
there's this,
man looking at that, like you're incredibly confused.
right. And so you get information overload, you get, paralysis by analysis, and you start to question, like, what do I actually need to do? And you also look at it and you say, well, if I do this, then I won't be doing that. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm going to be missing that, and it's not going to work. Right. And
Right.
so not only do guys have no accountability because they've never really made an investment that makes them accountable, but they also don't have any clarity about what it is that they need to do to actually produce the results that they want. And that's
Right.
exactly what we were missing too before Gym Launches. We didn't have any
Clarity.
investment in it. We didn't have any clarity on what the actual step 1, step 2, all the way to step 100, without having
Yeah.
to second guess ourselves, without having to wonder, oh, boy, I hope we're not missing this or that, right?
I also think though too, cause like there's big differences I think between health and fitness and scaling a gym. So there was quite a bit of information that we were missing from doing things the right way, from scaling a gym the right way.
Totally.
A lot of that stuff wasn't just available, and like you said, like there's thousands, millions of different fitness articles and different workouts and different diets, and you can Google everything for free, right? Like the reason that guys are not successful, I think from a body composition change or health change standpoint isn't because they don't have access to information that could work, right? It's the other 90%, which is the level of accountability that you feel. Like
Totally.
I'll tell guys before they join our program, I'm like, dude, 10% of what we do is organizing the information in a way that we believe is the best way to organize it and to execute. You know, from a, I believe your training should progress this way. We believe your nutrition should progress this way. We believe that because it's the simplest way that we found to help guys actually get traction and be consistent on a week to week basis. But the other 90% is the reason that you made the big investment to join the program for, because the thing that gets in guys' ways is the mental and emotional and logistical challenges that they have in their everyday lives. And so I remember I
Yep.
made a post on Instagram a while ago, maybe a couple of years ago, like saying to guys, like if you're out looking for a solution from a health and fitness standpoint, you should be trying to find the coaching system or the individual that you can get to know and that you can have a relationship with so they can really help hold you accountable to doing the things that are going to have to happen. Because if it were just information, then like if guys didn't need that, we would not exist. Kettlebell
Truly.
transformation would not exist because
Yeah.
because guys wouldn't need it. They just Google it and then they'd be good. But like
Yep.
because the reason that guys make a big investment in the, and I tell guys is like the single greatest value that we give to guys is the fact that you have a coach and you have someone who actually cares about you and cares about understanding what are all the challenges that you're going to run into, what are all the reasons why up until now this point you have not been consistent, you have been able
Mm.
to push this stuff off to the side or put it on the shelf. And so,
Yeah.
and then having that support, you feeling uncomfortable enough to be like, all right, the information that you're going to give me, I'm going to follow it to a T. And then having another individual who actually is like, we're going to figure this out together. Like this is not, there is no opportunity for you to fail. Like we are going to figure out how we can make sure we can be consistent with your training, how we can be consistent with your nutrition. And we're going to dig into all the things that you feel like have been the reason why you haven't had traction on this stuff. And I think
Mm.
that for
Mm.
us, that's like the biggest difference, I think, between gym launch. You know, we were missing some information, like we truly were. And we were missing a commitment level, which we got
We
when
were
we made
missing a
the investment
commitment
into that.
level. Yeah.
100%, 100%.
I mean,
Absolutely.
if you look at it though, and with the gym launch investment, just from my opinion, we had almost all the information. I mean, the
Almost.
system that we went on to run, we already knew what the offer was. We knew what the ads looked like. We knew how people were coming in. We knew what the offer to make to them once they came in was. We
Yeah.
knew mostly how to already run the challenges. What
Right.
we didn't have is we didn't have the accountability to do that and then do it long enough to stick through it to see the
Yeah.
results. And there were
Yeah.
some little nuances that we were missing for sure. Some order of things,
Intricacies.
some little minor things, some intricacies,
Correct.
right? Which is
100%.
it. Our system almost exactly parallels that,
Same
right?
way.
Because it's like
Same way.
you could Google everything and you could try to piece it together. And would you piece it together as smoothly and cleanly and proven to work as we would? No, you
Right.
wouldn't, because you haven't done it like we have hundreds of times.
Right.
But what you're going to do more than anything else is you're going to make an investment that's going to force you to do it long enough.
To be
Because
committed.
typically what separates, like you could go look up kettlebell workouts and go look up, macronutrient profile for your body type.
100%.
But like the question is will you do that on your
Right.
own with absolutely no external support and still having to kind of try to figure out like, is this actually the best thing? Like,
Right.
and some guys can figure that out. There obviously a lot of people
100%.
can figure that out. They don't need to make a big investment in having someone coach them through their health and fitness. But I think
Right.
the point is if you're at the level of frustration that we were at with having tried to do it on our own and knowing that we were probably missing some key information,
Yeah.
right? But going on to find out,
Details.
like, because I believe that my biggest kind of aha moment for that was like, yeah, we were missing some information, but it was less about the information that we were missing, and it was much more about just actually making the commitment.
For
Because
sure.
nothing made us commit more than I don't want to curse on this one because I don't want this one to be explicit. More than just making the investment and just putting
Yeah.
the real skin in the game. Once the skin was in the game too, it was like, okay, this is what you're doing.
Yep. The
Not
clarity.
nothing else. This is
Right.
what you're doing. Not even,
Correct.
yeah. And it's like the clarity from like, you could do a bunch of different things, but this is what we're doing in this program. And you're going
Right.
to do this program because you just signed up for it. It's like,
Correct.
okay, great. Because guess what? If you do a program that's proven to work and you do it for long enough, it's going to work for you too. That's what a, a proven program executes, it gets the results. You make a great point in saying like the value that we provide, it's like, it's not the information. It is 90% the accountability. And honestly, half of that accountability comes from you simply paying the money,
Yeah. It's
putting
holding you
investment.
to that commitment, holding you to that
It's
commitment
holding you to the
you made.
commitment, right?
Yes.
Truly.
100%.
And that, I think for a lot of times also like that's like, how bad does that investment hurt for you too? I think that's a key point, just to really lift the hood up on kettlebell transformation, at least, right? Like we've
Right.
had certainly our fair share of guys who have made investments in this program and then done nothing,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of times those people who made those investments, that type of money didn't matter to them. It was a drop in the bucket. They were
Right.
just kind of throwing money at a problem and they weren't really serious about fixing it.
It is just that moment. I think it's just like that moment of commitment. But it also comes from, know, liking and trusting the people that you're going to commit with, right?
No one's
The
going to like us and trust us after this
yeah,
episode.
just believing that the system will actually get you there, right?
Right.
100%.
So Grant, let me ask you this. What do you think? So when we talk about the 10% of the information that's missing, or, the skill that's missing, what do you think for guys in the health and fitness perspective? Guys who are, trying to train with kettlebells or lose weight.
Mhm.
What information or skills do you feel like are the key ones that they're missing, or that they're not doing the right way, that they need to be focused on? Or what do you feel like that is?
I think it's just the actual implementation, right? I think it's actually doing things the right way. Like if a guy will come to us and he tells us he's done swings and get ups, but then in his first onboarding, videos or onboarding meeting, a coach will look at his technique and a coach will be like, okay, we're going to change a lot. Right. So then like in the first 14 days, a coach will change a ton about a guy's technique so that he actually has the ability to then progress, right? To go from one belt to the next, to the next. So I think there's just like, when I say 10% is the information, it's like the information organized in a way that makes sense, but it's also then just like the actual details of, for like kettlebells, if you're going to go from being able to swing a 50-pound bell to swinging a 100-pound bell, well, like your technique better be right. Like you actually, like your details better be right. And there's nuances to making sure those details are done correctly. And the same thing from a nutrition standpoint. A lot of guys come to us and they're like, "Oh, I tried diets, or I've tracked macros in the past and that didn't work for me." Well, it's like, okay, well, does tracking macros not work? Or does the diet not work? Or were you just not put in a position to actually like be successful and slowly build momentum over time? And so like, that's kind of what we mean by organizing the information is, yeah, I think you wouldn't be successful if I said, all right, you're going to track every piece of food that you're going to eat tomorrow, and we're going to try to hit these targets tomorrow, and you got to go these carbs, fats, protein. Like, of course you wouldn't be successful. And so
Then you're
like,
going to start doing 100 swings,
right,
and doing a bunch of Turkish get ups.
right. You haven't actually had a slow build of like focusing on focus here first, then take the step and focus on this, then focus on this. That's why like our program, our first 16 weeks is built out into like every 2-week phases. From a training and nutrition perspective, so that guys can actually just not be overwhelmed and just focus
Right.
on a few key things.
Yeah. You
And
got
like
to
you
build the
said,
engine.
put blinders on and don't worry about anything else. Like
Right.
just actually build yourself up. And I think from like a training perspective, and we'll talk about kettlebell specifically, we talked about this in the last pod about how there's a lot of guys who do a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things you can do with kettlebells, right? We put people on in KT, we put people on a roadmap that like only focuses on 6 key exercises over a year. and it's like the first year, almost year and a half, but they get very strong in like those 6 key exercises. Like your skill goes through the roof. You get very strong. You build a lot of really good endurance, like baseline level of endurance in 6 exercises, maybe even 5 if I think about the programming. And then once you get to this level of like proficiency and this level of skill, and like we said with Miguel, to this level of like confidence in like everything that he's done from a training perspective, then you can start to expand. You can start to do a lot of different things, but you have this like foundation to work off of. And you can only get that foundation if you actually take the time to do it and you actually execute things in a way that makes sense to actually build strength and to build endurance and to, you know, have real adaptations to this stuff, that creates the outcomes that guys want.
So guys are missing the details, the skills, the
Skills.
techniques, the proper techniques, right? The sequencing, like you said, right? They're not necessarily doing things in the right order. They're rushing into a more advanced type of thing, like
Yeah.
tracking macros,
Yeah.
or doing too advanced kettlebell exercises before they've built technique in the foundational ones, for instance, right? So it's
They're
like
bouncing around.
that's one part of it, right? Is like they're doing too much, or what they're doing they're not doing well. But then also the other thing that you mentioned there was like just time, right? So because
Mhm.
my original question is like, what are guys missing, right? And so what most guys are missing who don't have the health and the fitness that they want is they're missing some key information. They're missing some of the key details about how to actually do the things the best way possible, right?
Organized. Yeah.
How to organize things the right way, how to actually build the engine to be able to take you far enough on the trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, if you want to get great results with kettlebells, you got to get stronger. If you want to get stronger, you got to have proper technique. So if your goal is to get great results, then the first thing you need to do is you need to get your technique right. Because when you get your technique right, then you start to actually make progress. From there, you
Right.
need the proper program, because the only way you're going to make progress consistently and be able to stay healthy as you do it is if you have a proper progression to do that on. And
Right.
then the other thing that a lot of people, I think, don't want to admit and don't want to come to terms with in their life is like, you may need a lot more time than you think you need in
Right.
order to achieve the vision that you can see in your head of the fit human that you want to be. Because we have
Right.
been conditioned to believe that you can get abs in, with 8
60 days.
minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or it's like everything's always about the shortened condensed time frame to be able to achieve this thing. And that screws us in 2 ways. One is like, it makes people think that they should be able to get things way faster than it actually takes to get there. And
Right.
two, it makes people believe that once they get there, hey, my work is done. And nothing could be further from the truth. Usually
Right.
it's going to take you significantly longer than you think. But then also in the health and fitness game, like, just because you're fit at one point in time does not mean that you just stay that way without putting
Right.
in the work. You have to consistently continue to do the thing that
Right.
got you there. Now, transforming and maintaining are 2 different ball games.
Yep.
And transforming is unquestionably a lot harder than maintaining is.
Yeah, I usually tell guys it takes like the same amount of effort to maintain where you're currently at as it's going to be maintaining where you're at 50 pounds down. But the hard
Right.
part is actually losing the 50 pounds,
Right.
or whatever
Right.
it may be. Like you, because right now you ask a guy, who's 240, 250, 260, whatever it may be, who just isn't where he wants to be, how hard is it to maintain where you're at? Well, it's not that hard. Well, you're going to have the same answer when you lose 60 pounds. Like when you're
Right.
actually,
If
you
you do it
wake
the right way.
well, yeah, right. Like if you actually do it the right way and you're training, you get into a groove of training consistently. It's part of your life. You've made really foundational changes to your nutrition. You've got really good like lifestyle habits from like you go out and walk. Like you're itching if you don't get out and walk and don't get out and
Yeah.
get fresh sunlight.
Right.
Like, if you wake up when you're 50 pounds down, you're doing those things, and it's just part of who you are. The answer is going to be the
It's
same.
easy to maintain. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I can maintain this. Yeah, 100%. Like,
Right. I feel like that is the biggest challenge for guys, because they see what it takes to make a transformation, and they're just like, but I just can't, there's no way I could keep doing that. Like, especially with nutrition, right? Like tracking nutrition, for instance. right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, I just don't want to have to always weigh my food. It's like, dude, that's so short-sighted. You're not going to always have to weigh your food. But
Right.
right now, because we're undoing potentially years and decades of neglect, we're going to have to do things in a way that is really, pushing the pedal to the metal. It's really doing things in a way where we're transforming and we're
Yeah.
doing things that aren't necessarily sustainable to make your body change. But once you, like you said, once you're consistently in the groove of exercising, once you're eating predominantly the same foods, like then you just continue on that path. Then
So,
you can maintain a lot easier.
so maybe a good question then, if we kind of tie this back to the point of the podcast, the theme that we were going to try to have here, which was, we made a huge uncomfortable investment in a gym launch. It was the catalyst for the growth that we were seeking back then, trying to grow our gym. We believe that guys go through a similar process with KT. Is they make an uncomfortable
Totally.
investment to gain access to the right materials, the right accountability, and they make a decision and a commitment that is uncomfortable enough where they decide, I'm going to make a huge change, and it's going to be a permanent one. Because you're not buying like a $97 PDF. $97 you can kind of throw out, right? It's like, oh well, that's a dinner, no big deal. My question then would be, maybe we can kind of use this to wrap up the pod, is so when guys are faced with making that decision, what do you think makes them so uncomfortable? When guys are faced with making the choice to implement this system, invest into it, get coaching and accountability, and have this be something that is going to be a long-term system in their life, what makes guys uncomfortable to
Yeah.
make that choice? Why is it so hard, you think, for some guys to say yes to that?
That's such a great question. I think it's two things. If I just purely think back to my experience making the investment in gym launch, it was two things. One was uh, the the fear that it wasn't going to work. I was afraid of what we were going to lose. Not
Mm,
only was I going to lose $16,000 and feel like an idiot for doing that, but I was also going to lose the status as someone who made good, sound decisions and was good at running his business. Boy, how stupid do I look for investing all that money, getting nothing out of it? That was one, right? Like that fear of failure and that fear of rejection or status loss or whatever you want to call it.
I think
That
you hit it.
was that was a core one, but there was one more
Yeah.
too. And the other was the ego.
Yeah.
I should be able to figure this out on my own. Here's a good one that went through my head a lot, and we probably talked about a lot too. It would just be so much more meaningful if we figured it out.
Right.
It'll almost even won't even feel like we really earned it if we just
Right.
take someone
Had to
else's
pay for it.
system,
Right.
right? And gosh, that was such a false belief. Boy,
Those two right there. Those two. I'm so
right?
glad you said that. I think that the ego being part of it, and the feeling of the decrease in status, and
Yeah,
the worry, that's like a perfect storm
it
for
really is.
it's a perfect emotional storm to be going through a guy's head and like going through his body when he's confronting the decision of whether he's gonna,
I
join
mean,
something like KT, or make any big investment.
that's why so many guys say, well, I got to talk to my wife about it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you have to talk to your wife about it because you're afraid that you're going to fail like you have in the past. And your wife knows that you've failed so many times in the past at trying to get a workout routine started or trying to clean up your diet. And this time it's a lot more scary because if you invest a bunch of money and fail again, now there's a whole nother
Right.
layer of that failure, right?
Right.
Because now not only have you failed again, but you've now lost a bunch of money, and there's that massive decrease in status, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Huge ego hit.
and I
Oh,
think guys just can't. Again, it's like you can't understand how much you have to gain because we always ask guys, right? In that scenario, right? Like, okay, so if we go a year down the road, and all these things that you just told me were so important, your big whys, right? You're setting an example for your children, your wife finding you attractive again, you being confident wearing whatever outfit you want to wear, taking your shirt off at the beach, having energy to go about your day, finally feeling strong. Like if we really go out a year in the future, you've lost 50 pounds, 60 pounds, 70 pounds. Do you really think that you're going to regret having invested this money? Is your wife going to be upset that you invested this money?
Right.
The
Will it
answer
have
is
been
always,
worth
well,
it
no, of
to
course
you?
not.
Right.
Yeah.
Will it have been worth it
And
to you?
right. The answer is always yes. Right.
Right.
But a lot of those guys still end up,
Yeah.
saying no for some reason. And I think, that's because it is a perfect storm of fear that it
Yeah.
won't actually work and that there is so much work to be done, which is true. There's a lot of work to be done, as
Yeah.
well as the ego of like, well, you know what? I still think that I can and should, or I should be able to, and I can figure this out on my own.
Right. It's the comfortable spot. It's so uncomfortable, right? So I always ask guys, if anyone's ever had a call with me, they know that I ask after I explain how our program works. I'm always like, so scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that if you were a part of that system, you would actually unlock the results that you told me you were after, that you would actually achieve them? And I don't get 10 a lot. Like I get 10s from guys who have been following us for a long time. So they've edified us a lot, right? They've been following us for a year or two. They've seen the results. They've watched all of our videos, whatever it may be. But a lot of times I'll get an 8 or a 9. And so I'm always like, okay, so you people are hard graders. Like I get it. So tell me, like the gap between an 8 and a 10, is that gap driven by, you know, disbelief in the program? You don't believe the program's going to work, or is it doubt in yourself? Is it doubt in the program, or is it doubt in yourself? Like what's driving the gap? And I think you're obviously talking a lot about like guys feeling a decrease in status if they were to make, they feel worried about making an investment and then they're not going to show up, they're not going to do it. Well, that's only driven by like having previous experiences of not following through before,
Right.
right? That's why the 10% does matter, because the 10% is organized in a way to make it easier for you to follow through. Because I guarantee up until this point, you have not been a part of a system that has been so simplified in a way where like anyone can do it. You have guys in their 20s, guys in their 60s, guys of all different uh, ages, experiences, skill levels. Anybody can follow this system. And so I think it's just like being able to get past that, right? Get past that doubt of yourself, get doubt of what you've tried in the past, and just be willing and be ready to like make a huge change, right?
Be ready. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Be ready.
it's just
That's
like
what it is. You've reached a point of frustration of failure, and
right.
you know that you have to have the thing in your life. That's usually the confluence of
Yeah,
events that lead to, because like we talked about with gym launch, like for us, it was I'm either going to quit or I'm going to do this. Those are the only two routes.
right,
And like for me, it was like, well, I'm certainly not going to quit because
right,
I still want to go get this result. But I
right.
have gotten to a point of no return where I know that I can't get there on my own because I've tried for long enough and it
Yeah.
hasn't worked.
What's the
And
cliche?
like that's
What's the saying? It's the pain of saying the same is worse than the pain of change. Then that's when you're ready to change. Something like
yeah,
that, right?
something like that. That sounds about right.
Yeah, that was good. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Like the investment
Just
that we made into gym launch. It had been a while since I thought about that. And just as a side note, like that was the first big investment that Sean and I ever made into
yeah,
what I would call personal personal development, personal growth. Just from a business
business
standpoint, business growth.
growth.
We've
Yeah,
gone on since then to invest, man, I don't even know how much, like into different coaches, different mentors, trying to
easily
continuously
200,
find, yeah, 150 to 200K.
easily 200, easily. Yeah.
Then it's like we just know that when we make that choice and we get access to someone else who's already done it and who's already proven to do it, already proven that their system works, and they have answers that we don't have, we just know that like we don't really think about them
Yeah.
as much anymore.
The thing that we were able to do is we were able to go from an identity of someone who is afraid of what they have to lose and thinks they should be able to figure it out on their own to guys who now looked at it from the standpoint of, I see what I have to gain and
Yeah,
I don't need to figure this out on my own. Why should
right,
I? Why wouldn't I just pay
right,
for the shortcut?
right. Right.
Like that was the fundamental switch that happened for us. And I've talked to a lot of guys who have gone through kettlebell transformation and have said very similar things. I've
Right.
never made this level of investment into my health and fitness. And I'm
Dude.
always like, but don't you feel so damn good now that you've removed that false belief that like
Oh,
it's not worth it to make that type? And like guys will fundamentally change the way that they look at investing, not just in health and fitness, but in anything. Like it can really open up
dude.
doors to do that, right? And I feel like that if there's any lesson to take away from the episode that's not about kettlebell transformation or us trying to, prove to guys why they should join kettlebell transformation, it would just be like again, it gets back to that identity switch, right? Going from someone who
Yeah.
fears what they have to lose and who thinks they should be able to do it on their own to being someone who understands what they have to gain and is allowing themselves to remove their ego
Yeah.
and
And is giving themselves permission to confidently make decisions, like
yeah,
confidently make decisions and then step forward and follow through and execute
right,
whatever,
right,
whatever you're investing into, and it doesn't have to be financial either. It could be just a guy confidently making a decision to draw a line in the sand one day to get his health under control, and he does it on his own. Like that's great too.
right,
Like whatever it is, it's just the confidence to make a decision and then stick with it and follow through. And it's interesting you say investment because I've had so many guys from KT say to me, dude, that was one of the best investments I've ever made in my health. But you know who never said that to me? Any of our gym members. Like, and God love them. I get it. I get it. I understand that because the gym was not, it was a line item. It was a
yeah. It
line
wasn't
item
an
on your
investment,
budget sheet. And where I
right?
think
It
that a
was an
lot of guys,
expense,
yeah, a lot of people who went to the gym, they gained some lifelong skills, and some of them are still following things to this day. We woke up to a text from an old client this morning who said, I was in the best shape ever when I was training with you guys. I'm still slinging bells again today. And so some guys took a lot from it, but I never heard anybody say that to us
yeah,
because it was just a line item that was one of the first to go if you needed it to go.
sure.
And I've had a lot of guys tell me about KT being like, dude, that was one of the best investments that I've made into myself. And a lot of guys who said, I've gone on to make other big investments just from giving myself the permission and following
Right.
through with your guys' program.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Love nothing more than when it's an unlock to people understanding like, the trust me, the worst that the pain is ever going to be is that moment that you actually say
choose to
yes and
do it.
swipe your card.
Yeah.
And then that's all gone. And then it's immediately gone. And your comfort level around making an investment like that expands right
Yeah.
away. Right
Right.
away. And of course, there's oftentimes a little bit of buyer's remorse, but there's also, if you were steadfast about your commitment to it, you fight the buyer's remorse by taking action and getting the most
Yes.
out of it. Right.
Exactly. Start doing the work.
And then you grow
Yes.
and you expand and your understanding about what it means to invest in yourself and invest in, getting the information that you don't have and the structure, it grows. And I feel like a huge unlock it was for us. I mean, that was, I still look back on that probably as the most important investment. Not only was it probably our most successful investment from a return standpoint, but it was the one that catapulted us into a different level of understanding about how the world worked, honestly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which, so that's just something that whether you invested in kettlebell transformation or you invested in this, a business opportunity you've been looking at or whatever it is, like if you've been thinking about it for long enough and the pain and the desire to truly change there, like just find a system that you believe in because there's evidence and then invest and just execute the system,
Right.
Just execute it at least long enough to prove whether or not it works. Because even if it doesn't end up working, we've made plenty of investments that didn't really pan out for us in terms of the systems that we installed, but we always took something away from them.
You always
And
learn. You always get
and
bricks.
I never again felt like, boy, I feel stupid for having made that investment. I'm just like, well, that one didn't quite pan out the way that we were hoping it would.
Right.
Let's go find the next one. Right.
It's all bricks to get you over to the other side that you're trying to, the outcome you want is on the other side, and you're just laying bricks.
And the first brick is the hardest to lay by far.
100%. 100%.
Good stuff, man. Well, there was a lot of riffing and ranting in there. I hope that there was at least some value to anyone who was listening.
if you listen this long, we love you. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
Uh,
truly.
Seamus, we were reminded by one of our clients that we should say where guys can find us. So
Oh,
yeah, guys can find us on YouTube, the Kettlebell
yep.
Guys YouTube
Kettlebell
channel.
guys. Yeah.
We had just recently kind of restarted our YouTube, so we're trying to put up new videos every week. You can find us on Instagram at kettlebellgrant, at kettlebellsean.
I'm not as active there as you
Yeah.
are for sure. So I would go to at Kettlebell Grant on Instagram. That's the
you,
place to be.
you can check out our website,
Okay.
kettlebelltransformation.co, not
.co. Yeah. One time
.co.
somebody told me that he thought that we were like part of the Colombian government or something, and he didn't trust us.
Yeah,
And I was like, no, that's just because .com was taken and we
right.
couldn't get it. So it's .co.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, cynicism. I love it. Yeah, that's where you can find us. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah,
If you listen to this, if you're a fan or you're, someone who's been following us for a long time, we're looking for ideas
yeah,
in terms of podcasts and what we should talk about, what you want to hear about, what you want to learn about.
100%.
So definitely drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear them.
And if the only ask that we're ever going to have is that if you liked the podcast, share it with someone that you thought might also like it. That would be
Post it on your socials.
amazing. That would be amazing. All right, Seamus, that was fun. See you next week for the next episode 3.
I can't wait.
See ya.